So we're going to cover 3 tools today. Those are going to be Video AI, Artlist.io, and Luma AI. We're going to kind of showcase what they can do, maybe a little bit like the pros and not necessarily pros and cons, but strong points and maybe missing features. And they're really intentionally, they're like different price tiers. We're going to go low to high because where you are might not be, hey, I'm ready to pay for the most expensive one and really start producing content with all of the features. So we want to make sure that there's an easier entry point for you to start having the benefit of video creation. I want to call back really quickly because a lot of this, what we're going to do is some of it's text to video, some of it is image to video. So I actually went back into ChatGPT Images 2.0 and had it create a product for us. So we're going to be using this a little bit today. Hitting shelves near you soon, an organic energy drink called Shift. But how beautiful is that? I mean, like I want to go pick that up off the shelf, and I don't even drink energy drinks.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would have picked that up and have it wreck my day with the anxiety.
I can't have a second cup of coffee without getting jittery. But hey, so this is our product, and again, I want to call that out because it's meaningful. Because with a lot of these video tools, like some of the great results really are from image to video. And as you'll see in a little bit, some of the platforms help you create those images. If they don't, or they're not using a model like Images 2.0 yet, and so you're not getting the results that you want, you can start an image in ChatGPT Images 2.0 and then bring that image as like a starting frame, as a source point with you.
And if you didn't watch our video on Images 2.0, you really should.
Yeah,
feed, because it is mind-blowing how good it is. And we mentioned this, just a brief plug for that video. We walk through comparisons to Nano Banana, Gemini's image generation tool, or Google's. And that tool was awesome. But Images 2.0 in ChatGPT blows it away.
Yeah, it really does. And I'll even show some of that because I think one of the generations that I did in one of these tools was using Nano Banana, and you'll see the can that it designed versus this one here in a moment. So we're going to start in Video AI. Video AI is probably the lowest price point, but it does have access to several different models. And what I'm really going to show you here is how you can give a simple prompt with a starter image. Chris is already so excited seeing a few of those samples there, I'm sure. But I'm going to show you what the different models produce, where they might be, stronger or not so much. So these generations, we're going to start with the Shift. I gave it the exact same simple prompt. I gave it that starter image that I made of the can, and I said, make a product video using this drink can. Have it sitting where it doesn't change size or position in frame, but the scene around it keeps changing from a backyard party. So it's on a table, a ski lodge background, beach, maybe it's in the sand, to kind of showcase how it's a great drink in any situation. I used WAN 2.5 or WA. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Not my favorite model. So it very literally kind of tried to interpret what I said. But as you can see, like the can is not part of the scenery or anything like that. So at first I kind of thought, Video AI, like not loving it, kind of, okay, so could I use this as an Instagram ad and grab attention through motion? Yes. Is it going to reflect well on the product? Not so much. Is anybody going to think that it's not AI? Absolutely not. So I gave the same prompt to a few other models. Now I'll show you here, this is using Kling 2.5, which is a pretty decent model for some use cases. If you want more like cinematic realism, it's pretty decent at those. As you can see, still not great at making my source image part of the scene. It very literally just kind of stays over top. It does create some like very realistic cinematic scenes. I even like the way that it pans, it like dolly shots out the window of the cabin onto a beach scene. You can even extend that further to keep going into those mountains behind it, like a skiing scene or something like that. So with some further prompting, there's some potential there. And I know that I'm using like a product here. We'll get a little bit into some other kinds of like use cases. This is not just for like product imagery. And we'll showcase that a little bit too. Finally, I used VO3 from Gemini or from Google, and I think this like absolutely killed it. With one caveat, it made it one of those like short stubby cans. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I have no idea why. It changed the logo a little bit. So it did, like we talked about that a little bit in the past with like some of ChatGPT's old image creation. It would kind of like it would look at your source image and it would reimagine it. So we need to work on that a little bit, maybe through some more specific prompting. But I think it's really cool how it took my product and basically gave me an Instagram ad or a meta ad or whatever it might be. I mean, heck, you could turn this with a little bit more editing into a CTV broadcast ad. But showing the drink in different kind of social and experiential situations, showcasing that it's kind of good for anything.
What I
okay,
thought
so
was
that's
awesome, Jesse. Like
yeah,
the first model you showed,
yeah,
I thought your prompt was really interesting in that it was kind of stream of consciousness, and you were like maybe in the sand, and that was the one shot
yeah,
that it actually did integrate it into the product by putting it in the sand. I think like that's something we've talked about a couple times where if you want a specific outcome, if you want variability and creativity and whatever, give a vague outcome and maybe start from there, or a vague prompt. But if you want a specific thing, say the specific thing. Because I think it took your maybe put it in the sand, and that's the best shot in my opinion.
Well, and it was actually, I mean, I did say with the other ones like put it on the table, but it didn't take those. Obviously some limitation of the model, but I think the sand one is proof that you can with some prompting get it to produce results. Now the thing about these models, like, okay, well, why have all of them if they produce different results? If some are producing subpar results, some of them are going to use fewer credits so you can get more content out of it, and for certain use cases they're going to be completely like up to par, up to snuff. Like they'll be perfectly suitable, and you're not wasting credits with like a higher credit model like VO. So that's why I'm showing them, because obviously I think this is like the most polished produced result, despite the fact that it reimagined the can. But with some prompting, you can probably get that there. Okay, so that's a product image. Let's go to Chris. Humans. What can we do with people? So I fed it Chris's
who is that handsome man?
I fed it Chris's headshot. And all I said was make Chris start laughing, then turn to walk away. It's a little breezy too. Most of my prompts are stream of consciousness. I don't know if you know this or if you use this, but I've started using voice dictation like nonstop.
Same.
Like I think I forget how to type almost, and so my prompts have become less structured as a result, because I'll just dictate it. But again, we're starting with WAN 2.5. Actually not a terrible result. So again, here is like a kind of proof case that I think it does a little bit better taking a still image of a person and creating a video and some movement and motion in life than it does like inserting a product shot. I could call out little things here. The people seemingly appear from the water in the background as Chris exits frame. But again, like you could regenerate, you could give specific revision, say, hey, get rid of the people in the background or whatever, but not bad. I mean, it must have been really funny. Like you're clearly entertained, but it maintains Chris's look pretty well. So again, the model that produced not so desirable product shot actually did an all right job with Chris. So next, let's go to Kling 2.5. This one Kling's like pretty good with people. We used to at AWeber, we had been creating Instagram content for a while using AJ, our mascot, in like funny different social situations or meme type situations. And I used Kling a lot where we would take still images that we had generated of AJ to animate and move them. So again, in video AI, just giving it a simple prompt and a starter image. I gave it Chris's headshot. That's it. I gave it a prompt to make Chris start laughing, then turn to walk away. It's a little breezy too, and this is what it generated, and we can use. In Video AI, we're in the AI video menu item, and you literally just give it your prompt and your image. So you could click Start Frame, Upload Image, and you give it the headshot, and you give it a prompt. We're going to ask it to make Chris frown and walk away. I'm going to use VO3, and we'll set it to go. While it's doing that, this was the final VO3 version. And again, like, I just can't wait. Here's what I keep finding with VO3. It's like, if it doesn't have to match anything like real, it produces like beautiful footage, like very realistic. It even maintains like the logo on the shirt better than Chris's look, but it still does like the old images, ChatGPT Images stuff, where it like reimagines what people look like. I cannot wait for this to catch up where it can like maintain stuff, because clearly that's not Chris. At least clearly to me, that does not look like Chris. But is the scene and the camera movement and the lighting, it all looks incredibly realistic. It's just, I wouldn't be able to use like myself and extend it into video using something like this. That's still generating. So why don't we move on? And I'll come back to take a look at that a little bit later.
So the first video in each case was the cheapest, fastest model. Is that right?
The first is the the first is the cheapest, fastest model. Yeah.
And I think I agree with you. In the people video, the first one was God. Play that video. Oh,
and man, it's so not you, but and it's so funny because that opening frame, it's like, I think it's still you, and then you almost like morph as the video plays.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But that should be a meme in and of itself. But again, I do want to point out like some of the complexity here. Again, maybe you can't use this to extend yourself, but you could create an ad using a character or something like that. It is incredible, the VO model. Like, it's even stitching together a scene here where it goes from this tight shot to a medium as you walk away without being directed to do so. So like, it's quality, cool. Impressive. Ability to like use that source image, not great.
You know what's kind of neat though? Like, I love what you did here in creating all the different variations, because now what you can do is look at each of them and use them as essentially storyboarding and creative exploration to figure out like, what is the prompt I actually want to put in. So now you could say something like, using the model that created the best video, which I think was the first one, the most accurate video, tell it like, have Chris turn away and then walk, switch to a wide shot of him walking towards the lake or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, you could give it that explicit direction from like what you learned that you like from those. Exactly. And then if you're happy with one, you want to use it, there's a little download button right here on the preview tile. You can download that video and use it wherever you would want to, whether that's, Instagram, your website, the internet, wherever. So there are a few little like other AI tools and effects that you can do. You can generate images with a few different models. Video AI, I think, is like a super great entry point. As you can see, like, this is like very simple prompting and pretty quickly done, but with like some revised prompts and more explicit instructions, and using the right model and playing with it until you find the right model, you can definitely create video content that you could use to support your business. Whether that's through ads or social content or whatever it might be. Definitely useful. You have more limits. Like I find myself like, even looking at some of these, I'm like, I want to edit. I want to trim like the beginning. I want to trim the end. I would have to download this file and go take it somewhere else to go do most of that. So some limitations in terms of like being able to download a like post-ready, like postable file, like just ready to go. And like, that's the goal here, right? Like, part of the goal is to expand like the resources of what you have. But part of it is also just to eliminate manual work.
Yeah, and
So
the folks at Anthropic, the company
yeah,
behind Claude, they have this saying that is a really helpful way to think about AI
yeah,
and tools and models as they exist now. They say design your processes and your products around what the models are going to be 6 months from now. So, like, if you think you want to start using AI generated video, and maybe it doesn't do everything out of the box that you want right now,
yeah.
start using it anyway so you can get experience with it, figure out how these tools work, actually work out your process, because most likely in 3 to 6 months it'll be able to do the things that you wish it could do today that it can't
Hmm.
yet. They're just
Hmm.
moving so fast.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because we actually got a question about that was like, should I start playing with this stuff now or should I just wait till it gets better? And it's like, it's already useful. Start playing with it now, start using it now, putting it
Yeah.
into practice now. And like Chris said, it's gonna fly right past you anyway. All right. So pretty quick, but time is of the essence. So I want to show you a couple other tools. Video AI, again, like I said, absolutely capable of producing useful content. Lowest price point, I want to say it starts at like $13 a month for like their lowest tier, where you can get in and actually start finding some value before you invest.
Yeah.
Pretty simple to use. I'm going to go to artlist.io next. Now, artlist.io is also like a stock image library, voiceover library, and they've been rolling out some really cool AI tools, including video generation. And I'm going to show that in a minute. One of the things that I want to share is just a use case for, let's say, a real estate agent. Okay. So let's say you are about to, sorry, Paul asked a question. Can I get one fake model and ask to make a video? Absolutely. And I'm going to show you in a minute. Some of these tools actually provide those models for you. Let's say you're a real estate agent, right? Totally different use case than the energy drink. And you want to list this house, but everybody knows houses covered in snow don't show as well online on online listings as like spring, summer. So we're going to take this image in Artlist. And the first thing I'm going to do, Artlist.io AI Studio. This is actually in beta, but playing with it, like it's already incredibly useful. And like Chris said, it's in beta. It's only going to get better, and even further. Sorry, I just saw Fidel's question too. For video AI, it's like super limited trial. They basically let you, I think, do one generation before you have to buy credits or sign up. But again, the price point is a little bit lower. For Artlist and the other tool that I'm going to show in a minute, Luma, they do have trials, so you can get a sense of it before having to invest. Okay, so really cool thing in Artlist. And I think this is like a super cool tool if you like create like lots of like footage. You want like real video footage, not just product placement or things like that. Although I'll show you, you can use it for that too. With the studio, you kind of set up the framing and the source and the initial description. Then it takes you over to the directing mode where you're going to say like, make this move. This is the lighting. This is the, and kind of give it a little bit more creative direction almost. So first thing I did here is I gave it that snow covered image. If you remember, this is our house covered in snow. In the framing tab, I asked it to change this scene to late spring, early summer, and boom, there we've got our result. Same house, even the same trees, even that light pole and that junction box in the front lawn there. Everything is maintained, but now we're looking at spring. So as a realtor, I'm already happier I can use this. Now, video grabs attention. I have several friends that are realtors, and so they're in my Instagram feed constantly. Some post static images of houses that they're listing. Some post videos, even just like a subtle move to the house. And guess what catches my attention? I don't know about you, Chris, but like anything that's moving, I at least hesitate and consider.
I bought a drone flute from a video. Maybe I'll buy a house from a video next. Who knows?
What with the flute? Was it a video ad or a static ad?
It was a video ad. Yeah,
Boom,
for sure.
Right. Okay. So it kind of set the scene for me in the framing tab for what I wanted. And then down at the bottom here, let me see if I can punch in a little bit. And I don't know why I have my name covering some of this. But you can choose a few different things. It gives you some kind of starters for different angles that you can take with the shot. The framing, like macro, extreme close up, wide, extreme wide. I've chosen just wide. And then the lighting, you can do golden hour, you can do natural shot, all kinds of stuff. Maybe we'll go golden hour and do a new one. And then how many images you provided. So I'm going to go over to directing, and I tell it, do a slow truck pan across the house. So I just want to kind of have it like move a little bit across the front of the house and do a bit of a pan as it goes. I did already run this one, so I'm just not going to let you like make you sit there. It took probably, I don't know, 60 seconds to generate the video. Really not a ton of time, but I also don't want to make anybody sit through that. And we got this result where we've got a slow truck pan coming across the house, kind of shows the neighborhood and the rest of the yard. Now, maybe I don't want to do that as a real estate agent in case that's not actually how the rest of the yard looks and there's a house right there. But again, very simple, within minutes, taking a snow-covered house and turning it into a motion ad for a listing. You could have it zoom into the house. You could have it do all kinds of things. Another example, and we're getting back to our Shift Energy drink here, is product placement. So I told it, and this is where I think it was Paula that was asking about a fake model. Artlist has a whole stable of fake models, and it's great, and you can even create your own. So in this case, I wanted a little short Instagram ad of people just having the best time in some hip spot, and they're drinking Shift Energy, because what else would you be having on a rooftop bar but Shift Energy? And so the framing, I gave it, as you can see, I gave it the source image, that product can. And what I can do here is I can add a character. So I click that and I get to choose from a whole stable. I can create a new one that could be like my proprietary character that I create, or I can choose from this whole stable of characters or models, as Paula was saying, to use in my ad. And the cool thing is, like, you can come back to them time and time again. You can create 10 different pieces with that same person in each one. You can also use them for like UGC content, because Artlist will do voiceovers and matching, mouth movements to it, syncing. So I used Noah and Zaria for my ad. I said, hanging out on a rooftop bar with string lights overhead in a city, drinking cans of Shift Energy drink. They're happy, smiling, laughing, having a good happy hour vibe time. Camera does a slow pan 360. Now, I learned in doing this that I'm better off using these controls, like I said at the bottom, to tell it like what I want the camera to do. So first step with the framing, it generated this still image for me. Pretty lifelike. Definitely hit, rooftop bar in the city, string lights overhead. They are seamlessly holding that can. They only have 5 fingers. My, how AI has grown. Yeah. So then I'm going to take that, and you set that as your starter image. So when it first creates it, it looks like this. And I'm going to set that as my start frame. I'm also setting it as my end frame because I'm just doing one scene. I'm not having them like anything dramatically change. And then I go over to directing. Told that characters are chatting, hanging out, and having fun. I asked the camera to do like an orbit move where it kind of does this like 360 move a little bit around them. And I gave it the duration. You can do all sorts of different durations. Different durations are going to cost different amounts of credits. So, be intentional, I think I would say, because this can eat up credits if you're just like creating a 14-second clip when you really needed 3 seconds. It's just going to end up wasteful and make it harder for you to produce your content. And then again, we get our final Video. Oh, no, just kidding. Maybe because I took those, I think because I removed the frames. This is what happens when you do it live.
This is the best view in the city, right?
Absolutely.
So I don't know if y'all could you hear that, Chris?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I would drop the audio. I would put like a music bed over that because the one thing that ruined it for me was the dialogue and voices.
Yeah.
This is the best view in the city, right?
Absolutely.
Like she doesn't want to be there. She could not mean that any less. Let me see if this other one played because I did have a better kind of.
This city view is incredible.
It really is. I'm so glad we came up here.
And like it's easy to bust on some of these things
Yeah.
because they're not exactly perfect as you might want. But I think it's like there are a combination of things that we could be doing. You could give it a better prompt, or like you were suggesting, Jesse, like maybe you just don't use the audio. The video is pretty remarkable. And if you want to put your voiceover, like if you're going to use this on Instagram or something, just put it in edits or create a video in Instagram, record your voiceover or put some music to it instead. And you've still got a really useful, usable piece of content.
And I was going to say, awesome. I'll play it without sound. You also can choose to not have it generate sound if it's just not going to be used. So here it is without sound. And honestly, just as footage, like it works. It's great. It's a great little clip. Where they seem to be just like chatting, having a good time, and enjoying their Shift energy drink. We're gonna grow legs. We're gonna start producing Shift energy. No, I'm kidding. We are absolutely not.
Don't say absolutely. You can't predict the future, Jesse. We might just end up with Shift energy drink.
But I did mention like you could also use this. You could either create your own fake model. You could produce a vertical video where you have them talking directly into camera. You can also use your own proprietary character voices. So we talked a few episodes ago. We compared Noise AI with 11 Labs for voice cloning. Artlist will also do voice cloning, or it'll allow you to generate like your own unique voiceover that you want or voice that you want that you can use for voiceovers, but you can also use in these videos. So you could tell it to use a specific character voice with that model that you use. Those are the bumper stickers. Thanks, Suno. But you can create that content over where you have the same person in different settings with different dialogue, same voice. That could be yours or one that you create. So you can get it to a much better place. In this case, like I kind of let it just run with the characters. Again, like you said, we could be much more specific in the prompting, but like pretty solid, useful end result, I think.
Hey, maybe a weird question and not something we have to demo because I think it could take us like down a path. Can you add audio into Artlist as you're generating? Like, could you add voiceover audio?
In Artlist Studio, which is in beta, that's not available yet, but I was reading that that's tentatively on the roadmap. So I do expect that would be something that you can do where you feed it that, because I've seen other tools that allow that, not necessarily well. I know for a while I used a platform called Hedra, and it allowed you to do that, where you could give it dialogue or whatever kind of sound you wanted, and it would map to that. So I imagine that will be built in here as well. Let me see here. Which example? Okay, so final example that I want to show here. And I think it was Paula said I need to do some of these for my jewelry. I was thinking just like Etsy shop, right? So I went and grabbed an image from Etsy of this outfit. A model standing on the beach showing it. Maybe you want some video ad content that you can run for your Etsy products on paid platforms or social platforms. Again, in our Artlist Studio, I gave it that source image of that Etsy product. I told it in the framing section, I said a full shot, natural light, a model in a photo studio with a light backdrop showing this specific outfit. and it generated that image for me. Maintained what the outfit was, didn't change any of that, same model, just replaced the scenery and the setting. And then I moved over to the directing tab, and all I told it was she's walking toward camera. Easy enough. And here's our result.
That's pretty wild.
Right? I love that it even envisions her like coming through to another room with those, whether it's walls or pillars coming into the frame. The lighting changes on her face and everything as she comes under that, out from under the lights in the studio backdrop. So you could do this in a longer form, you know, whatever the scene. And now you have like a model actually in a video wearing your product. Paula, you could do this. I mean, because you can have it do all kinds of framing where you could say, instead of full shot, you could do a close up and have them wearing your jewelry. And have a video that you can then run.
And process wise, it might be cool to start in ChatGPT using GPT Images 2.0 and drop in a picture of your jewelry and maybe even a picture of yourself or a model if you have one handy. But if not, you could just say, put this jewelry on a model who is like, maybe you could say a woman or a woman of a certain age or whatever you want it to be. Give me 3 variations and then pick the image that you want, work through it in ChatGPT because it's fast, it's cheaper to do it that way. And then you can bring that into Artlist like Jesse's been doing and have that image really define who your model is and make sure the jewelry sits the way you're expecting in ChatGPT, and then bring it into Artlist or one of these tools for the
and I'll tell you what, I don't want to make people sit through that. And I want to get to Luma because it's pretty rad. Fit out. Like, I love that you're already thinking of like an application, and I saw that your username is abstract fine art. So I was actually thinking about this earlier. Like, how would you use this? Absolutely, add it to a wall in a room or a gallery, and you can pan and bring life to that space.
Yeah, or you could even have like it on a wall in the room and ask it to have people interacting at a cocktail party or something to show how the art could set the tone for a room full of people enjoying it and being influenced by it. That would be really cool. Or you could just show a person reading a book near the artwork to show the feeling it creates in a room, or someone contemplating it. All sorts of really cool things you could do.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm gonna play with both of those ideas, both the jewelry one and the artwork one, and I'll show like a 10-second end result clip on Friday on our next episode.
Jesse, on this one, before we move on from this example, can you go to the end frame of it really quick? Because it did something in there that was just so cool, and it's not something that you might consciously think about, but the backdrop, the way that it kind of curls organically at the end, how it kind of like pops up in an interesting way and unfolds as she steps on the end of it. That's like one of the things that happen in real life. That
Do you know how many times I've taped those edges down?
Yeah, but like you wouldn't normally think about it if you are not regularly on shoots, if you're not working with this stuff. But the model knows what this stuff looks like. And that's one of those little details that make it feel natural in a way that older models just didn't do. So like the thing we oftentimes call out is models used to give people extra hands or extra limbs, which most of the time they don't. But that's just part of how they've improved. The other part is understanding like the physics of objects in the real world. Like that stuff is stuff that subconsciously registers with people as, oh, this feels more natural, more like reality.
Yeah, and I mean, if you like, just think about it, you went from this static image, which is a great, highly, it's a professional image, but just this to having, a video ad that you can run that features your product.
It's wild.
Pretty awesome, and in very little time done this morning before the show. I mean, it's not like I'm not trying to portray it like it was like it was easy, but in reality it took forever. Like it, and you saw some of the prompts. She's walking towards camera. That's it. Not like what Chris was talking about. Not like as she approaches the end of the paper backdrop, the end is curling up from having been rolled up. And, That kind of stuff's not as necessary. All right, so moving along. I know we're going, kind of long today, but I hope it's useful. Final tool, Luma. And Chris, I don't know if you've played with Luma. Luma is a little bit more established. It's been around for a while. This is definitely your higher price point. I think like between 30 and 90, depending on how many credits you want. But it eats credits pretty well. it's hungry. So, you probably end up at that 90 price point if you're really going to make use of it. And it has a ton of really cool features. It may not be like the most user friendly, but the way you can build entire campaigns and collections of assets from it is pretty rad. And you can see here in Luma, like when you log in and go to discover, and this is, again, it's lumalabs.ai. It has a lot of kind of pre-built projects that you can use. So, create lifestyle scenes from a product, design a character wardrobe, all kinds of stuff. This is actually where I kind of got the idea of the realtor changing the scene of the house. They have one that will do that. So all kinds of preset projects, but you can also just ask it for what you want, and it's going to use its tools to help you just figure out how to do what you want to do. Now, where do I want to start here? I'm going to go back to the Shift can. I used their product to lifestyle project where literally you give it the image and you go into the chat and you say, get started or use this image, and it gets to work. And what it ends up creating or generating for me were these 12 or so lifestyle product images. Now, what's super cool about Luma is that this isn't like just the end result. I could take this image and just be like, I'm going to use this as is. Looks great. The one thing that gets me through cooking dinner every single night is my Shift energy drink. But like great, like good image creation where it feels like a natural part of the scene. The lighting makes sense. We talked about that a little bit with the Images 2.0 versus Gemini with Liz's example where she was creating a rendering of a room for clients as an interior designer. And one of the things that betrayed the Gemini one is that the lighting was like off. It like objects didn't receive the light that it should directionally, but you can see it's doing a good job here. But what's really cool with Luma is like, this is just the start. So I created this one and I liked that, kind of fit the like, hey, active lifestyle. I hope they're not still running in those shoes. That's gotta hurt. They are pretty well worn. But what I did was I right click and I've got this whole list of different things that I can now do with this. I can crop, I can resize, I can create more variations of it. I can make video from it. So I did. I used VO3, asked it to make a video, and we got this pretty quick result here where I now have a video ad of my lifestyle product. I'll let that loop back. I mean, in seconds.
Yeah, pretty remarkable.
It generates pretty fast. It has access to good models. Again, this is your priciest option, but there's so much more in here that you can do that I flat out don't have time to showcase in Luma. But some of the other projects, so I referenced this earlier. The one thing that I felt when I gave it the prompt to create the Shift energy drink, I think ChatGPT Images 2.0 did a better job. This is what it came up with. It's nice looking, but it doesn't motivate me to grab it from the shelf, I don't think. So again, like I still think that there's some use case for using ChatGPT Images 2.0 to create your source image because it's going to do a better job, and then using a tool like Luma to expand what you can do with it. In this case, I had it take that product and just do a simple kind of like end screen ad.
That's not bad.
Pretty realistic. I could probably get carried away on like maybe the lighting on the hand or as the can comes down, but like that was my product. I'd be happy to use this.
Yeah.
Finally, It does also, similar to some of the others, have a character creator. So you can create characters that are then reusable, and it will retain the information about them. So again, this is their example is like pretty like action film specific. Obviously, I don't think most people here are trying to figure out how to use AI to create an action film, but you can create, like we've talked about this before in past episodes, like maybe you don't want to be the on-camera star. You can create a character that is going to be your brand spokesperson, the person that you use in like Instagram videos, the person that you use wherever, including that voice. And with Luma's tools, it will retain, like it helps you create those one-off characters, and you can use them in a million different scenes and use cases and settings. So just lots of power and ability there. For me, I think this has absolutely I'm excited to keep playing with Luma, because I'm like, I know I've only like scratched the surface. But I will say that the like kind of user experience and technical barrier to entry, it's definitely a bit more of an advanced product. So if you're just like dipping your toes, I think Video AI does like a pretty solid job of producing useful stuff with like very limited need to understand anything ahead of time. Artlist, it's a little bit more involved, but produces really great results and has a lot more control and flexibility. And then Luma just has like endless opportunity, but it's a lot less user friendly and definitely takes a little bit more time to learn.
Yeah, I used Luma. Luma is the only one of these three that I've actually used, and I used it for creating imagery of T-shirts. Like I have an Etsy T-shirts store, and I used Luma to say like, put this image on models in different positions. It was awesome. I've never used the video portion of it, but I'm definitely going to use.
Yeah. You can take those images that you created in Luma and just in a couple of clicks and a simple prompt, have those models now actually like moving and showing off those T-shirts.
And the thing I love about Luma for those use cases is having a consistent like cast of models that I can use across all of my different T-shirts, which just like, who knows if it actually matters, but to me, I think it's cool seeing in my store the same models, I won't say people, but the same models wearing the things in different situations. It's just, it's really neat. So Fidel had a question. Can I add a still photo of myself and have the video make me move around the room, introducing a painting, etc., or do I have to introduce the original moving image of myself? That's an interesting one. I think you probably could. What I would do in this case, I haven't played around with this, so Jesse, feel free to jump in, is I would start by making a character of myself. Give it a bunch of images of yourself from different angles. And then once you have the character created, just use the character when you ask for the video prompt and ask it to be showing off the painting as the camera moves or something like that.
Yeah, I want to try that for a second, actually. I'm back in Artlist, and like I showed earlier, they have all these preset characters, but you can create a new character. And to be honest with you, I haven't really done a lot with it, but you can give a reference image. So let's see if we can create Chris using his headshot. Again, love the disclaimer: responsible, ethical use of AI, especially when creating people.
Like don't, and what that means here is don't use pictures of actual people without their consent. Like that's just, it's unethical. It'll probably get you in trouble too, because it's not the right thing to do.
It ought to get you in trouble.
Yeah. And here too, I'll bet if you were to add more pictures of me from different angles, it'll do a better job.
I'm sure. The more time you put into this, absolutely, the better job it will do. But we'll let this run for a second and see what it comes up with. Because I just frankly haven't had time to play with the character creation, but I suspect, Fidel, that this, again, like Chris said, maybe with more images, a little bit more context, more training, like better prompt, than Chris's personality is stoked. It will create.
Very handsome. That should have been the prompt.
I should have gone with that. I'm sorry. But it I suspect it's going to do a pretty.
Oh God.
Well, that's what happens when the personality is stoked. There you go.
I gotta tell you, man. Like sometimes this is these experimenting with these tools live it's a good.
Painful.
Yeah, it's a good. It humbles you, keeps you humble.
That's right. That's right.
So
I
more
had
pictures is the recommendation here.
but look at that. I mean, that's if I use this one, that's not bad. Like that's a pretty good looking character image.
Yeah, that's right. I
A
agree with
lot like you, even though it didn't have the full context. So we'll use it in a project. Walking around room showing art, and we're going to have high level angle, medium shot, natural lighting, and we'll let that go.